How we doing, everybody, and welcome in to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're back today. Took a day off yesterday. It was Labor Day, we labor-intensive work. We got to take days off, I guess. Not really. Had a flood go on in the basement, musty smell, didn't want to be down here, so got it all cleaned up, took a day off. We're back today, and I couldn't come back today because there was so much going on in the world of sports. There was college football, Packers are kicking off this week, and I needed the guy, the Eagles fan, to come on here and tell me a little bit about the Eagles. So I got Aaron from Brutally Honest Sports. He's here with me today. Aaron, how we doing? It's Tuesday? It's Tuesday. Holy crap, it's already Tuesday, right? Great day today. How we doing on this Tuesday?
Oh man, I can't complain. You can argue, March might be the best time of the year for sports. This is very close, if not the best for some people. Like myself, I would say honestly, just because of the college football starting up, we're in the home stretch of the regular season in baseball. So, with October around the corner, that'll be fun. And then, later this week, you bring it up, the Eagles, the Packers. Ravens Chiefs play on third. We're 2 days away from Ravens Chiefs, so even closer to the NFL regular season. Just a lot going on. So I'm here for it. It'll be fun. College game day is absolutely a riot. Like it's almost like too much, but it's fun and sports are just in full go right now.
College game day is not like college game day. Like it used to be. It was fun, but Pat McAfee on there it's something else. It's something else with McAfee on there, and I think Nick Saban brings a whole boatload to that college game day now too. He brings a lot of perspective that a lot of people don't think about. Being a coach who's been there, done that, been successful over the years. I loved hearing Nick Saban on week one. They're heading to Texas and Michigan. That's a big game coming up this next weekend. Should be a very good one. I'm hoping Texas just runs Michigan out of the building, but we can all hope on one hand and we get what we get on the other, right? So we want to start the biggest game for us coming up this week. That is Packers-Eagles happening in Brazil. I saw a lot of reports coming out of there about the air quality. Apparently there's been fires going on down there, and they were talking about the air quality down there being terrible. And then I saw the Packers official report, and they said the air quality isn't bad. So did you hear anything about that? Were the Eagles mentioning or anything out there about the air quality down in Brazil?
I haven't heard that. I saw that they were asking the Eagles players all these, what are you guys going to do outside of, practicing football or playing football? And almost every person on the Eagles has said, we're not really going to hang around or, kind of just mess around down there. It's kind of a business, and everybody says it, right? It's a business trip and whatever. But as far as like the crime, and I'm sure the Packers are probably taking the same approach, like they're not going to be just out and about clubbing or, going out the restaurant. It sounds to me like it's very sketchy to say the least, just like a dangerous type of environment, which I kind of question the NFL a little bit for this, but no matter who the Eagles play or who the Packers, like I want everybody to be safe. Like I hope nothing actually comes of that or these guys are at least, aware of what's going on. They're high profile guys, obviously. So yeah, I didn't hear much about the air quality thing, but I'm sure, I will, or that'll get brought up and talked about more up until the game. But yeah, it sounds to be like just not an ideal environment as far as these guys are millionaire, high profile people. So it's a little eyebrow raising to say the least. But yeah, that's what I've heard about so far.
Well, yeah, the amount of like complications that they've had with this just seems unreal. Like you wouldn't think we're heading to Brazil. The NFL is telling you like this is where the game's going to happen, everything like that. And there's so many like you can't wear green. First off, it was you couldn't wear green. Nobody could wear green. Well, we're sending the two teams down there whose main color is green. That makes sense. Let's send them both. And then the Packers, they're taking the bullet for you. Don't worry. We're wearing green. That's what I hear. Packers will be wearing the road green. So you're welcome, Eagles fans. We're going to take the heat for it. But, just so many complications leading up into this game. It's actually baffling. And then the game's on Peacock, right? So I know a few local stations will carry it here in the state of Wisconsin. I don't know how it is in Philadelphia. You guys got local stations for the Eagles there where, these people don't have to go get Peacock?
Usually it's on, like, we call our station like Fox 43, but that's usually a Fox broadcast. So I don't really know. I haven't heard a lot. I mean, I am guilty of using bootleg streams, and I find a way to watch. If I'm gonna be at home, I find a way to watch the game. It might be freaking 10 minutes behind sometimes, but we get it on there no matter what. But yeah, it's this whole Peacock thing. I mean, the Amazon Peacock, you name it. Like I see why they do it, but I feel bad for, like, the older generations, right? That are like, what, how in the world am I supposed to get this on? Yeah, it's just, it adds another layer of, like, complications, which, I mean, I get it, like I said, but at the same time, it's a little bit excessive, I think, at times. So
There's a lot of money to be spent in streaming services these days just to watch. I think I brought up the number the other day. I can't remember what it was. It was over $1,000 you would have to pay to watch every game that you wanted to this season between Red Zone and getting Peacock, getting what the heck were the other ones? Netflix, because Netflix has games now too. All those different streaming services added up over like $1,000 for the whole darn thing. That was like, holy crap. Like, that is a lot of money to be spending on just watching football game, when it used to be you could turn on Fox or you could turn on CBS and it was whatever game was in your area was the one that was generally on that station. Nowadays, it's hard to find it. So getting into this game, though, I want to know a little bit about this Eagles team. I got you on here. I want to know a little bit about this Eagles team here. So right away with this Eagles team, the biggest thing last season with them was that defense. The defense for the Eagles was, I mean, I don't know what a good word to say outside of rough. It was rough to watch that secondary, like giving up long balls left and right. Like it was Oprah handing out cars. Like it was like, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown all over the place, right? So they made some improvements in the offseason, right? And they go out in the offseason. I believe, they got Devin White there in that linebacker room now. They got some guys in there. They've added pieces in the secondary. This defense now for the Eagles, do you think that they've revamped it enough that now we're talking about the Eagles defense being one of the better defenses in the league? Or are we still sitting, we're down in the 15 to 20 range, and we're going to count on our offense to be able to make up for it?
I think so last year, I mean, it was Sean Desai to start the year, who was never a defensive coordinator before. He was, a Seattle assistant defensive coach. I think he was a secondary coach to be more accurate. But, as they started struggling, they got lit up by Dallas. I think Dallas dropped like 47 or some crazy amount on them down there in Dallas. And then after that, questions started getting asked, is this the guy? Does he know what he's doing? And granted, it's his first year as the defensive coordinator, but like the Eagles are the opposite of like a Pittsburgh Steelers type of franchise. Like if things are a little bit not so good, like they stick with their guys. Like this front office is like, even if there's a little bit of, struggle, it's like, okay, who can we get rid of or what change can we make? I do like that to a certain degree, but sometimes it's a little excessive. So then, long story short, they keep Desai on the staff and they put him up in the up in the box basically, and then they have Matt Patricia calling plays. So it's like you strip the guy of defensive play calling halfway through his first year, and then Matt Patricia, to me, I mean, sure, he had success with New England, but really that was Belichick's defense. Like, at the end of, I mean, he went to Detroit, absolutely flopped, and pretty much everybody did in Detroit up until Dan Campbell. But still, I don't think Matt Patricia really makes your team that much better. And then they're changing everything mid-year. So at the end of the day, I still think with bringing in Vic Fangio, a guy that's been there, done that as a defensive coordinator, not like it's his first year or he's like this guy knows how to coach a defense at the very least. I'm not saying he's the best defensive coordinator of all time, but I at least have confidence he knows what he wants to do, and like there's a strategy in place. Last year it was just like, okay, everybody's out of position. Nobody's. It just looks like an absolute cluster. Insert the blank. You know what I mean? So I think just that alone will make this defense better. And I think the defense will like trust him more than these guys coming in that they just don't have as much pedigree as a Vic Fangio now. I mean, losing Reddick, who Reddick hasn't even shown up for the Jets yet, which that's a whole other situation. But that looked like a horrible thing, trading him for Huff. But I mean, as long as Bryce Huff is like okay, like just how he's been the last couple of years, productive, I'll take that just to get rid of the headache that seems like Hassan Reddick has kind of turned into. But it's really, to me, it's going to come down to the secondary. I mean, you brought that up. Darius Slay I mean, this is probably his last year. I know the Ravens really tried to go out and get him, and he was like halfway out the door to Baltimore, and then comes back to Philly for probably the money, whatever it was. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's Slay, then it's Kaylee Ringo. I mean, you're gonna have quite. I can always say it wrong. Kyvon Mitchell, which I know I said that wrong, but I can never pronounce it. So whatever. First round draft pick. He looks promising. Now, we'll see when they line him up in the regular season. But Isaiah Rodgers, Eli Ricks, all these guys need to play a role because I mean Slay, he's not going to get targeted nearly as much as these other guys will. And then with Slay, he's getting older. So like I said, this might be his last year as an Eagle. I mean, I think he'll still play a couple more years in the league, but he's not like prime Darius Slay, and there's that concern. So long story short, the linebacking core probably is a little bit better. I mean, I could go into everybody that's in the linebacking core, but we don't need to do that. I think they'll be maybe like 10th or 12th or something like that. I think they have the potential, I should say. I don't think they're going to be like horrid like last year. I don't think they're an elite defense by any means. I still think they have their holes, and the Eagles have kind of under ownership that they have. They've built the offense, and then defense is always kind of a second thought, which I don't absolutely love that, but it is what it is. And I just think they'll be better. I don't think they'll be great. I don't think they'll be horrible, but I think they'll be better, and the offense is going to have to carry this team at the end of the day.
The big thing they did in the offseason, the Eagles, was they added a lot of youth. They added youth and speed. That was their big thing. I mean, look at last season, 31st in pass defense. That is wow. I mean, the way they started the year on defense playing, I mean, you watch this team. I mean, what did they start? They were they undefeated to start the year, or they had one loss to start the year there? I mean, it was unreal start, and then it just went just like that, all downhill. Everything just turned into a disaster. And the youth, that's what I'm talking. Cooper DeJean in there. You mentioned Mitchell in there. He's 23. You have a couple of 20. The Eli Ricks, he's 22. Blankenship and McCullum are 25. Gardner Johnson and Rodgers, they're both 20. Like, there's a lot of youth in this cornerback room. That's something that I think is a curse, and it's also great. You have a lot of youth, you have a lot of speed, but you also have a lack of experience out there, and you're going to face some talented wide receivers who have been there, done that against some of the best, and they might burn you. They might burn you a couple times. I think the big thing for the Eagles, game one, it might be, there's a lot of youth on the Packers too. I mean, you look at the wide receiver core, they're young still in that wide receiver core. They might have played a year or two now, but there's still a lot of youth around that receiver core. So they're still learning. These cornerbacks will be learning. It's going to be a heck of a fight between those guys, because you look at the Packers, their wide receiver core, you look at Reed, you look at Wicks, you look at Watson, there's some speed in that room. So having some speed out there at cornerbacks is definitely going to help out this Eagles team on defense. The thing that I look at, though, for the Eagles, a big thing that I'm looking at is the pressure. Can they put pressure on teams? Because I saw the stat there just before, where was it? I just had the stat up on their defense, and it was, right here, got it. Last season, they were 4th in the NFL with 24 sacks through 7 games. And then they ranked 29th the rest of the year, 19 over those 10 games. Just to see the decline there in that defensive line. They're going to have Jalen Carter. Hopefully, that's everything that happened is behind him now a little bit. The outside noise is gone. Maybe he can finally develop into the full prospect that they thought they were getting there. It's going to be can Josh Sweat return to what he was in the first half of the season last year? Because the second half, he was complete garbage. I mean, he disappeared the last 10 games. So for me, it's the defensive front for this Eagles team, because you look at Green Bay, they bring Josh Jacobs in. Matt LaFleur is a smart coach. He's very smart. He knows when he needs to throw the ball around. He knows when he can take advantage of an offensive line. Or a defensive line. He knows when he's got to call play. Like he's an offensive guy. Like, he draws up the plays in his head and he throws them out there and he's like, just run it. We'll make this thing work. So looking at that Eagles front there, that's where my worry would be as an Eagle fan, I guess. If I was looking at the perspective of an Eagle fan, I'd be looking at can they create pressure, especially in this first game against Jordan Love, to rattle him? Because we've seen what Jordan Love can do when he's not rattled. When he has all the time in the world, it looks good. Everything looks good. Can they put pressure on Jordan Love and this Packers team? So my next question to you, Saquon Barkley comes to the Eagles now. They lose DeAndre Swift. Saquon Barkley comes in to replace there. Is that, I mean, from an Eagles fan, you've seen him with the Giants, right? We saw him with Penn State. You saw him with Penn State. You're a Penn State fan, so you're a big Saquon guy. He's coming to the Eagles now. That's got to be some cool stuff there, seeing him basically come back home to you. What do you think about the addition of Saquon Barkley? Does that change this offense? Is that little bit of a boost that Jalen Hurts needs that's going to just – it's going to be like that safety blanket. Every quarterback has that safety blanket, that guy they can turn to, whether it's coming out of the backfield. You look at Dak Prescott with the Cowboys, it's the tight ends, right? Jake Ferguson down there, that's his safety blanket. Is Saquon – does he turn into Jalen Hurts' safety blanket, a guy that coming out of the backfield, he's a good pass catcher. He can get you yards after the catch. Does he turn into that kind of guy for the Eagles? And what is his impact in your eyes going to be on this Eagles team?
Yeah, I mean, I was even okay with them bringing back Swift. Like, I didn't think they needed to go as, balls to the walls as far as to get like a guy like Saquon. My concern is, I mean, any running back can get hurt. Like, I'm sure you've seen Packer running backs get hurt. Ezekiel Elliott went down for a while in the countless guys. Adrian Peterson played through. I mean, I think he tore his ACL at one point. Like, so to say like, Saquon Barkley's injury prone, like, I mean, you can make the case, right? Like, I'm not one of those guys that, oh my God, Saquon, like, I love Saquon. He's coming to the Eagles. He's going to be, a 2,000 yard back. Like, I like to be realistic, but there's two ways to look at it because, I mean, without Saquon, the Giants really had no offense. So now you're inserting Saquon into an offense that has the potential, I'll say it like that, has the potential to be very good if Jalen Hurts can play well. And, like, same thing on this side of the ball. I think they were hampered last year by the play calling Brian Johnson was not an offensive coordinator before they promoted him from within the organization. Just didn't work. I mean, Nick Sirianni, I think, had his hand in that offense, and whenever he has direct, contact with the offense, it's never good. It's just they never run the ball. Like, if it was up to Sirianni, they would not run the ball. They would throw the ball it could be 3rd and inches, and they probably wouldn't even do the tush push. They'd throw a 45-yard slant route. Like, it's just stupid. But the thing is with bringing in Kellen Moore, if you look at Kellen Moore's offenses there in Dallas, they utilized the tight end a lot. Even with Herbert last year, they utilized the tight end a lot. So Dallas Goedert last year was completely forgotten about. I mean, so many times he was wide open last year. If I had $1 for how many times he's wide open, I'd be a rich man. But I think between bringing in Saquon and the impact he can have in both, like you said, the passing game and the running game, but then incorporating Dallas Goedert back into this offense, that's where I think, it could be a hard offense to stop. Obviously, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are what they are. Like, we know that by now. But if you can utilize these other guys like Dallas Goedert, like, it's going to be harder to stop everything, right? Like, that's what the 49ers do so well. I mean, they have Brandon Ayuk, McAfee, George Kittle, like, the list goes on and on and on and on. So that's what I think the Eagles are trying to be as far as, making everybody involved. And Kellen Moore is better at that than what they had last year. So I think all that combined turns the Eagles offense into it could be like a top 5 offense, really. I think it's just, losing Jason Kelce obviously is a big one, but we knew that was going to happen one of these years. It's not like it was a shell shock. Like, okay, he's actually gone. And then when you were talking about the defense, I forgot Fletcher Cox is no longer in the middle of that defense. So there are some, like, this is the only guy left really from, the core of Eagles really is Brandon Graham. And he doesn't give you a lot anymore, but kind of like a leadership presence type of deal. So it'll be interesting. Like you said, they went all youth. I mean, there's some youth on the offensive line now too. So we'll see, but I have high expectations, but I'm a little bit cautiously optimistic just because with new coaching changes, sometimes there's growing pains, and we could see that against the Packers. Like I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna mesh week one. I just don't know.
So I guess my big thing with the offense is Jalen Hurts. Last season, I mean, he looked like he was lost. He looked like he didn't have a clue what was going on at times. And this year, I mean, people were talking about Jalen Hurts being a top 10 quarterback after they went on the run. Everything was great with the world. Jalen Hurts was a top 10 quarterback. It was taken to the bank. A lot of teams were like, why didn't we draft this guy? It was all the talk of the town. And then all of a sudden last season happened. And now it's like he's forgotten in the world. So you bring in, like you said, Kellen Moore comes in. It seems like, from what I've heard, those two, a good relationship between the two guys. Everything seems to be going well. Do you think, okay, it's going to be a double barrel question for you, because I got another guy who, he's got a lot to prove this season too. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. Both those guys, to me, when I look at it from the outside looking in, those guys seem like they have a lot to prove to me this season here, because we're hearing about this improved defense. You add in Saquon Barkley. You've spent money now. Yes, you do have some youth across the board, and Fletcher Cox is gone. Jason Kelsey's gone. You do have some youth in the room now, but this is still a solid core. And this is an Eagles team where you look at the experts, if you want to put in quotations, experts, whatever you want to say about them, they say this Eagles team is a contender for the NFC Championship, for a shot at the Super Bowl. They're one of the top teams out there. Okay. Well, that means if they're going to get there, Jalen Hurts has to be Jalen Hurts from the first couple seasons, not what we saw last season. He's got to be that Jalen Hurts we saw before. And Nick Sirianni's got to figure out how to coach this team to that potential. So as an Eagles fan, Jalen Hurts' production this season is going to I think that's going to decide how this, yes, it's pretty easy to say how the starting quarterback does is going to tell you how the entire season is going to go. But we saw Peyton Manning with the Denver Broncos, and the defense carried him all the way. So it really had nothing to do with him. Looking at Jalen Hurts, Sirianni, how much do you believe they have to prove this season before you're like, maybe we have to be looking in the coaching carousel now. Maybe we have to be looking maybe to bring in a backup quarterback that we can slowly start to develop just in case we want to move on. Like, where are you at with those two? How much do you have to see out of them this year to say, that's my franchise quarterback, and this guy here, he could be the head coach for another 5 years?
Definitely last year, the like I already kind of talked about how the Steel. I'm not trying to discredit Mike Tomlin, but I still think if Mike Tomlin was the coach, like, let's just say for sake of conversation, like Mike Tomlin was the Eagles coach, and he's got the Super Bowl ring in his pocket, sure, that carries a lot of weight. But it's like, if you're just kind of, winning season, losing the first round, winning season, losing the first round, that type of thing, I don't think that would fly in Philadelphia. No pun intended. I just don't. Like, this city has, it's turning into like how the Yankees fans think about, where it's like championship or bust. Like, it's, we're close, right? Like, we 2 years ago lose the Chiefs they blew the game in the second half. They had that game won, but that's why they play two halves, right? Like, it's for Sirianni, I've never, like, it took him, I'll never forget this. Like, yeah, he's a rookie head coach, coming in, but 7 weeks in, the fans are saying, run the ball, run the ball, run. Like, literally the entire stadium is yelling, run the ball. They start running the ball, and they ripped off like 6 of the last 8 games and won, and sneaked into the playoffs. So it's like, I don't know if I'm starting to think maybe it's an organizational problem, not even himself, where they're like, because I know the owners, like, he talks about all the time, oh, I want this to be such a good passing team. And sure, like, I'm sure the Packers want their team to be a good passing team. The Chiefs are gifted with Mahomes, and they're going to be a good passing team. But, like, the little things in football that make, like, you and I could, like, scheme up, stuff like that. Now, is that Sirianni's fault? Or is that, like, the ownership and the organization stepping in and saying, we're running our team this way? Like, I don't know. I'm not inside the building to know. But it's, when you start out 10-1 and then you finish 10-7 or whatever it was, like, whatever it was, right? and you lose that. I mean, once again, it had to be Tampa. It seems like every time we go to Tampa Bay in the playoffs, it's never gonna go well. And right on cue, like Baker Mayfield looked like Tom Brady times two. So it's just the way that season ended with the turmoil. It wasn't even so much like players not dropping a ball here or not Jalen Hurts missing a throw. It just looked like an absolute mess. Like on both sides of the ball, the team didn't look like they were into it mentally. Like it looked like guys were checking out. That's when coaches do get fired quick because it's like you have no control of like how much desire these guys want, have. So I don't know. I mean, Jalen Hurts, I don't want to say I give him the benefit of the doubt because I'm not a type of guy. Like I'm like put up or shut up. Like you get paid millions of dollars to be the guy, be the guy. But I mean, I just think the play calling was so bad and they had no idea what they were doing. So this year, I mean, he's got to play well. I'm not saying he has to play at like an MVP level, but he's got to play well. You got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon. Like if you don't play well, as long as the offensive line isn't trash, like that's on you then. Like that's completely on you. And then, you bring in Kellen Moore to try and fix this too. So I still think Sirianni's more so on the hot seat just because I really don't know if he went somewhere else. I mean, coaching stuff, like maybe if he went to like a Dallas situation, that's a bad example. If he went like San Francisco, like maybe they'd be fine because it's like they have talent everywhere. But I don't think like if you drop Sirianni in like Detroit when Dan Campbell went there, like I think they'd probably be god awful. Like I just don't know if he can take a team that has nothing. Like he came in and he even said it. Like the Eagles had a great offensive line and a great defensive line coming in. Like that's, in my opinion, that's how you have to build a team because if you don't have an offensive line, you have no offense. And then if you can't get pass rush, everything else is going to look worse. So he got gifted a good situation, but I still don't know from like a schematic standpoint if he knows a whole lot. I really question that because just when it seems like he's the one with coaching responsibility, like now he's an overseer. He's like James Franklin at Penn State. He doesn't call play. He's a CEO. Like there, you hear that term in sports, and there's other guys like that. But it's put up or shut up for Sirianni. I mean, fans are going to start, the Jalen Hurts hate if he doesn't play well for sure. Saw a little bit of that last year for sure, but I'm curious to see. Like I said, it's a lot of changes in one off season, so I'm curious to see how that pans out.
So we Packers Eagles week 1, right? So how much weight? I guess we could do both answer this one for respective teams there. How much weight do you put on a week 1 matchup like this? How much, this isn't going to decide the entire season, right? You can lose week 1 and you could go on a burner then and win out. Like, I'm not saying that week 1 loss is the end of the world. But, knowing, what I've seen with this Packers team last season, what I saw at the end of the year, I want to see week 1, win or loss. I want to see Jordan Love play like Jordan Love, like he did in those last 10 games. I want him to, because, you look at him, last 10 games, he was phenomenal, like MVP stuff, leading the league in a lot of categories to end the year. I mean, you're talking about this year, a lot of analysts out there like this guy could win MVP. We've seen guys already say this guy's going to win the MVP and the Packers going to win the Super Bowl. Well, if that's going to happen, he's got to play like he did. I want to see Jordan Love come out and just shut up everybody who is, the Bear fans, everybody like that who is saying, why would you sign this guy off of 10 games? Because the Packers, they saw something they liked. I don't know what it is with Brian Gutekunst, but he just has this way, GM for the Packers. He's got this way where he just sees these guys. I mean, Carrington Valentine, 7th-round pick, is one of the best cornerbacks the Packers have. Like, he just has this way going into a draft where he just sees talent that nobody else does. I don't know how he does it. I couldn't do it. I get upset watching some of the guys he drafts, and then all of a sudden, Jordan Love. I mean, who the heck is this guy? Why are we drafting Jordan Love? Like, this is a bad pick. We could have added a weapon for Aaron Rodgers. Instead, we went with this backup quarterback. Why'd we do it? Now we're here. I mean, he's just got that way. So I want to see Jordan Love come out and just shut everybody up. I mean, if the Packers lose in a gunslinging fight where it's, 30-something to 20-something, Eagles just outlast them. Like, that's just what happened in the game. I could live with that. At the end of the day, I could live with that. Defense plays good. I mean, if they have 30 points, not a great day on the defensive side, but, just one of those days for Jordan Love where he's having a good game. The defense isn't having a good game. But on the flip side of that, I want to see this younger cornerback room for Green Bay, some of the young safeties in there. I want to see them get into this game, and I want to see them stand toe-to-toe. Like you were just talking there. You got Goddard, you got Devontae Smith, you have A.J. Brown. I would assume we're going to see a little bit of Jair Alexander with A.J. Brown there. So that's going to leave Devontae Smith and Goddard, especially there, with the safeties and the linebackers. I want to see big play out of them in this game coming up because that's going to tell me a lot about this defense. When you get against talented wide receivers, I want to see the effort that these guys are giving out there. I know McKinney coming over, I think he's very underrated. A lot of people talk about him, but they don't put him up there with the top defensive players. I think after this season, we're going to hear a lot about McKinney and how well the Packers did in free agency because I thought he was a huge signing. The linebacker room for Green Bay, Quay Walker taking a huge step forward. He has been okay over the years. He's shown flashes of being brilliant. This season here, I want to see Quay Walker, just take that step. Just be that linebacker that Green Bay needs. You look at Fred Warner out there with the San Francisco 49ers. It seems like he makes every play. Like he's all over the place on every possession. It's unreal. I want to see Green Bay get a guy like that. That's Quay Walker for me. And then that defensive front. I got to see these guys take a huge step forward. Kenny Clark, I want to see him keep doing what he does. And then looking at the rest of these guys there, Devontae Wyatt, Rashawn Gary. Gary injured 2 years ago, last season, coming back from injury. It was a slower year for Gary. I want to see Gary completely just light the world on fire this season. That was another guy who everybody thought the Packers reached on. I want to see him come into his own this season because Rashawn Gary has a boatload of potential coming off the end there. And I think that's if Rashawn Gary and this defensive front can play up to what I believe they can, this pass rush for the Green Bay Packers will be great. I really do think it can be great. They need to play great for that to happen. Lucas Van Ness, recent draft pick there, if he takes that step forward just to add some depth in there, will be huge for the Packers. So, like I was just saying there, I don't have to see the Packers win to find out some things that I want to find out. Because now you're seeing it all together. You're seeing it out on the field in a live game. I know preseason you're still hitting, and it's still guys going balls to the walls. But now you're playing in a regular season down in Brazil. It's a different kind of atmosphere. How does this because the Packers are the youngest team in football. I mean, I thought it was like 25 years and 11 days or something like that. I don't know. They break stats down like it. I don't know who has time to break down these birthdays and everything like that to figure it out. But the Packers are the youngest team in football. They are the youngest team. How does this team go in to Brazil to play? I mean, the Eagles, yes, they struggled last year, but that's still a daunting team. Like, the Eagles are still going to give it to you. The Eagles are still one of the perennial powerhouses in the NFC. That's just how it goes. How does this young Packers team step up to that occasion? Jordan Love, this offense, I think Josh Jacobs coming over from the Raiders. A lot of people look at his stat lines and they say, well, he didn't look that good with the Raiders. He didn't look that good. The Raiders sucked. Like, they sucked. I don't know who needs to hear that, but the Raiders sucked. How is he supposed to look good on that team? Like, he could have had 800 yards, and he would look like he was the best player in that entire roster, top to bottom. And, Mason Crosby's on there, too. So, solid players on that team, right? Devontae Adams on that team, too. But Josh Jacobs coming to Green Bay, I think that's huge for Green Bay. I really do. He's young. I mean, you went younger with Josh Jacobs. He's still got room to develop right with this offense, with this young receiver core here. And then, the big question mark for me, the last question mark I'm going to have before I flip it to you and get your opinion on how much is this way, the offensive line for Green Bay. Because you do have some returning pieces in there. Elton Jenkins, you have Zach Tom, Josh Myers, Rasheed Walker, all coming back. Jordan Morgan, the rookie, right now he's been banged up over the preseason, but I expect he's going to play. Everybody was a full practice as of Monday. So I expect he's going to play there. How does he play there in the guard position? If he doesn't do well, how much do we see of Sean Ryan? Because Matt LaFleur said they have a plan. He never lets you know what they're going to do. So they have a plan is what he said. So we don't know who's going to get the start and how they're going to flow and how they're going to work guys in. I do hate when we keep mixing the offensive line game after game. That irritates me. I get pulling one guy and putting a different guy in at times, but when you're just rotating to try and find something, you can't get a mesh. That irritates me because you just got to get a mesh. Somehow you have to find a mesh between your offensive line. It's a group down there. It's a group in the trenches. And when you start mixing matches pieces in there, some guys aren't on the same page as the next guy. They don't flow as well as the next guy, and it leads to trouble. So I want to see this offensive line come up big, slow down this front from the Eagles, which we talked about before there. They struggled last season, but I believe they're going to have more of a presence there now. How does this offensive line for Green Bay protect Jordan Love, open up holes for Josh Jacobs, and give them time to make throws down the field in this game and try and exploit this young cornerback room for the Eagles in this one? So I guess, okay, I flipped the script back to you. I went on a long little spiel there, but flipping it back to you there, looking at, this first week, how much weight do you put on this first week, and what are some of the things you want to see out of this Eagles team against this Packers team? Both teams are predicted to be, top teams in the NFC when it's all said and done. What do you want to see out of this Eagles team in week one to really say, okay, we're good. Maybe we took a loss, but we're still solid. That was a good team we just played. That's a solid game. We can move on from this, and we're going to be good throughout the rest of the regular season.
Yeah, how going to the question of how much does this game, how much weight is this game or whatever, whatever it might be. I'm not going to put a tremendous, like if they lose this game, I'm not, it's not going to be like, oh my goodness, the season's over. This team, even if they get blown out, I'm not going to jump off that quick. If they get blown out, there's going to be a lot of, it's going to turn the heat up, that's for sure. But I want them to look like they're in sync. Obviously, I want them to look like, Kellen Moore knows what he's doing. Like I just want it to look like the offense and the coaching, like it's on the same page. Like there's not guys, Jalen Hurts is thrown to a spot and then there's nobody there and the Packer picks it off, pick six, like some stupid, stuff like that. So, the fact, you throw it in Brazil, maybe that I'm not going to say is a disadvantage for both teams. Like I don't know. I don't know if it's an advantage or not. I just literally was just on X while you were touching on the Packers there, reading about this a little bit. Now Darius Slay comes out and says the NFL themselves have told the Eagles, I'm sure the Packers too, anybody that's over there for this game associated with the NFL, to not really go outside of their hotels. So maybe they're gonna have so much time to watch film and to like dissect each other that I'm sure the Packers are watching Kellen Moore tape, even with the Chargers, the Cowboys. Obviously hasn't coached in Philly yet, but so, just tendencies, right? Like maybe these teams are going to be all over each other's tendencies and stuff like that. And we could see a very even matchup, even more so than normal. Maybe I'm reaching there, but it's just something I thought about there because I was reading up on, and then I read in the same article, Darius Slay was told not to bring any family over, nor any of these guys bring family with them. That's how much of a security threat, I guess it truly is. So, that sucks. I don't know I don't know how to flip that to a positive. Like that seems a little bit just not the best idea here, but if it spreads, the NFL is about money, right? The NFL is about making cash. They're a cash cow. Now college football has gotten so big that like college football is almost a minor league for the NFL, and they don't even have to pay for it. Like it's I heard somebody talking about that. I was like, dude, the NFL is just, they have such a genius way of making the game massive. Like it's massive. But I was pulling up real quick. So the Packers lead the all-time series, but quite a good margin, 28-18. I don't know if you remember, it was about 2 years ago, November of 2022 there. Eagles won 40-33 in Philly. That was a pretty good game though. Jordan Love really actually tore us apart a good bit in that game. Not surprising. The Eagles never. I would love to see an elite defense from this team. It just seems like we're never going to be the Ravens. It feels like we're never going to be the 49ers. But on that side of the ball, but that was a really good game. I remember that game pretty well. But yeah, this is you always want to start on a good note, no matter, even if you lose, right? You lose by a field goal. Okay, you're right there, right? But if you do get smoked, it's like, man. I mean, for the Eagles, they come back home, play the Falcons. I mean, I would hope that's a win. I would really hope that's a win. But
That's a good
you know,
team. That's a good team now. Them Falcons.
yeah, they are. But it's Kirk Cousins. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
it's Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
I don't
Well,
remember last
regular
time
season Kirk. Regular season Kirk.
he can't beat. Like we have his. We absolutely own that guy. Like he might as well just like live at Lincoln Financial Field because we just own him. But it's no. I mean, you can't look past this game at all. It's gonna be cool on a Friday night. It's gonna have like maybe a college football feel to it just because it's a Friday night. But yeah, I really don't. I keep going back and forth with like as a Packers fan, I'm sure you're probably feeling pretty stable just because of the way the season ended. Jordan Love played really well down the stretch. You don't really have major changes coming in. The Eagles, it's the complete opposite, right? Yeah, two new coaches. The team folded down the stretch like nothing I've ever seen before. So all the question marks, I would say all the pressure really is more so on the Eagles in this game. But I mean, they'll lace them up and see what happens. I keep going back and forth. And that's what I do anyway. But this more than ever. So
Yeah, you were just talking about what Slay had to say there, and it really dawned on me after I heard the stuff about the green, and then I saw the air quality and everything like that, and I was just sitting there like, are they gonna like call the Eagles and say, hey, can we just play this game in Philly? Like, I just kept getting to that point where it's like they're gonna try and move this game. There's just so many variables in this, and now you're saying like, don't bring your family down. Well, why would I want to go down? And I know you don't want to endanger your family or anything like that. I completely get that. I'm not going to endanger my family by having them come to that. But why would I want to go then? It's like, why am I heading down here? You guys say that you're going to protect me, but now you're telling me that I can't even leave my hotel without, armed security guards getting me to the bus. Or I can't do this with, it's, man, I mean, there's a lot of outs. You're talking about being more focused leading into it. I agree, not being able to have the nightlife and be able to go explore. Well, you still want to have your players being able to, go get dinner or something down there in Brazil. And, you're down there, you're in a foreign country, be able to go and experience it. But now you're like, you guys have to stay here. You're on a schedule. You can't go anywhere else. Now you have like that outside noise of like, okay, can I go to sleep tonight? Like, is the hotel safe? Do we have guys at the front door? Like, it just seems like there's so much wrong with the picture. But like you said, money's money. They're going to make the game happen, whether they got to hire, I don't know, the entire FBI to go down there from the United States or what. They're going to make this game happen, whatever it takes to get this one in there. So Packers, Eagles, we'll get more into that as the week goes on here. We're going to get depth chart. We're going to get injury reports. We're going to get into the Packers as we go on here. But we got to get to college football. We ran long on the Packers there. We got to get to college football. I'm going to be honest with you right off the bat here. Week 1, there wasn't really a game. I mean, outside of Notre Dame and Texas A&M, which was a close one, and then USC and LSU, which ended on that long touchdown catch by USC there late. Outside of that, I mean, Clemson got throttled by Georgia. That wasn't even a game, 34-3. Ohio State completely kicked the crap out of Akron. Idaho and Oregon was surprisingly a game, 24-14. Oregon did not impress me. They did not impress me week 1. It could be the week 1 jitters, but did not impress me whatsoever. Texas, they take care of business. Alabama completely destroys Western Kentucky. Ole Miss won 76-0 over Furman. That was, I mean, I feel bad. You want to feel bad for Furman, but they got a pretty good paycheck out of going to get throttled. So I guess that's okay. Michigan, they had a scare. They had a scare with Fresno State there, but able to pull it off late. Tennessee completely throttles Chattanooga. Oklahoma State wins over South Dakota State. Kansas State got the big win. Miami throttles Florida. Arizona 161-39. Iowa put up 40 points on Illinois State. I don't know if their defense just completely didn't show up or what happened, or if Illinois State's got the worst defense in college football, but Iowa doesn't score over 15 points. So to put up 40 in a ball game, Illinois State's defense is just trash. That's what I'm getting at. This Illinois State's defense is just trash. So let's get to the games that matter to us. I picked West Virginia to beat Penn State. I'll be honest with you. I picked it. It was in Morgantown, West Virginia. The atmosphere was primed up for it. I thought, honestly, I didn't see enough out of Garrett Green in that game for West Virginia. 15 of 28, 161 yards. Not a great game. I expected him to be a little bit better. I thought he was actually going to be one of the better. I thought he was going to be one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football from West Virginia there. Nobody was really talking about him. I thought he was going to have a big year. Nothing really there. Drew Aller didn't have to throw a ball the whole lot there. 3 touchdowns, big game out of them there, 216 yards. They were just torching them. That's what I'm getting out of this. The little bit that I watched, they were just torching West Virginia there. So, looking at this game, Aaron, you're the Penn State guy. Did Penn State impress you week 1 here? I mean, it's not a bad West Virginia team. Nobody really talks about West Virginia being that great of a football program, but this is not a bad team that Penn State had squaring off. Actually, I think the betting line had West Virginia winning this game. So how did you feel about your Penn State Nittany Lions coming out of week 1 there against that West Virginia Mountaineers team? Take me home. Country roads took them right back. They suck.
All week long I heard this. I mean, so I don't know. Maybe they're doing this on purpose. Like last year, it was West Virginia, Penn State, week 1, but it was in Happy Valley, at Beaver Stadium, in Penn State. So much different atmosphere, right? Like much the advantage. Like that's a huge home field, like one of the better home field advantages in college football. I mean, that's not just my opinion. I think people can pretty much agree with that. That place.
The whiteout's scary.
Yeah, it goes hard, but.
Yeah.
You were not the only one drinking the West Virginia Kool-Aid all week long. I heard, oh my God, this is, and don't get me wrong. I get, I'm pessimistic. I've seen Penn State lose to Illinois like a couple of years ago, 9 overtimes to Illinois. That ever since then, I'm like, you know what, anybody can beat this team. But really, the last couple seasons, they've only really lost to, Michigan or Ohio State. Like they pretty much run everybody else. So I wasn't like fearful they were going to lose this game. I thought West Virginia would make it a game to a certain degree. I thought they would hang around, right? I thought in the second half that Penn State, I called it, I said 38-21. But really, I mean, it was worse than that for West Virginia. I know it's college football and it gets hostile and rowdy and like, people on X get like crazy. But I mean, McAfee getting guys on there just saying that West Virginia is winning this game, like there's no questions at. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, is West Virginia, like they're not a bad team, like you said, they're not a bad team, but the line did close at about 7.5 in favor of Penn State on the road. So, I mean, Penn State was still the favorite, but the line opened up at about 12 or 13. So, towards kickoff, there was a lot of money going towards West Virginia, and I think people started drinking the Kool-Aid to a certain degree, but I really thought this game, once again, now we're going to talk about coach. Every team I like is just going through coaching changes, right? Like now we have a new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator for Penn State. Basically on the defensive side of the ball because Manny Diaz got hired by Duke to be their head coach, but on the offensive side, they let go of Mike Yursich. They bring in Andy Kodalicki, which that's going to be hard for me to get all year long, I think. But he, what I liked about him in this game is last year. I mean, it's one game. Let's not go crazy, but last year, Aller, like the yards per attempt were in the 7 to 8 range, somewhere along those lines. This game in particular, he was like 15, 16, so double the yards per attempt. Like this guy has he's got a cannon. Like he's got a cannon strapped to his right arm. Why not at least try and use it? Last year it was like, let's try and throw, outside post to the sideline every single time he drops back. Like you're throwing it in tiny windows all season long. Like, and the kid only threw 2 picks all year last year. So I really think the sky's the limit with this offense as long as, I mean, the offensive line was just dominant. And that's the first time I've said that in years about Penn State. I mean, their offensive line has been a turntable to say. I mean, you just like Oprah letting everybody get a car. I mean, you get a sack, you get a pressure. I mean, it's just like kid has no time in the world. But I liked what I see. I mean, Garrett Green the guy was getting just trampled all day long. Really, I mean, I don't want to go like I don't. Penn State will probably start out 4. I expect them to go like beat the next 2-3 teams. Illinois is in like 4 weeks because they have a week off in between Bowling Green and the next some other no name, some other small school. But I loved what I saw. The defense really didn't skip a beat either. I mean, they were one of the best defenses in the nation last year, and Tom Allen coming in, I wasn't the biggest fan of that hire. I mean, he sucked at Indiana, absolutely was. But I guess everybody does at Indiana football. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I have higher expectations now. Just with Andy Kotelicki coming in, I love that hire. Just because they needed a totally different approach on offense, and I think that's what you saw. And he had massive success over there at Kansas. So we'll see. I'm not gonna, like I said, I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid yet, but I think that this team has the potential. It's just putting it all on the field. That's the question mark. How much can they do that this year?
My biggest question was Drew Aller heading into it. I didn't know what to expect out of him at the quarterback spot, and he did what he had to do. Like I said, 11 for 17, had a bunch of yards, 3 touchdowns, good game out of him. Did what he had. It almost was, if he could play the season like J.J. McCarthy did for Michigan, just doing what he has to do. J.J. McCarthy was not like this over-the-top, I'm going to carry this offense kind of guy. He did what he had to do, made the throws that were there, handed the ball off when he had to hand the ball off. Like, it was simple. It was just a simple way to run it. I know you don't like Michigan. I know you don't like J.J., but, you put 2 and 2. I mean, they're eerily similar. Like, I don't expect if we had a gunslinging fight that Drew Aller would be the guy I would pick from college. He wouldn't be my guy. But I think he's good enough to win football games. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is he can do enough to win football games. Looking at Penn State's schedule, I mean, you were talking the 4-0 start. They have what I think is going to be a tough stretch, and that's going to be, we're going to talk about Wisconsin here in a second, but they play USC, who did look very impressive versus LSU. Now, LSU, they always have this slow start, and they always look rough, so who knows with LSU yet. But they played well against LSU, then they have Wisconsin, and then they play Ohio State. That's a tough stretch of games right there. That's a tough little 3-game stretch there, especially because 2 of those games, USC and Wisconsin, are on the road for Penn State. So that could, I know it's not the whiteout, but Camp Randall is a tough place to play. I mean, a lot of people say it. It's a tough place to play. We've been throttled there too, so it doesn't really matter. We've been throttled at home in games, so it happens. It definitely happens. So getting off the Nittany Lions, let's look at the Badgers here for a second because, well, Badger fans, Week 1 was not, it wasn't pretty. Let's go with it wasn't pretty. That's the best way I can put it. I'm going to take the most optimistic look I possibly can at this game, as I was yelling at my TV at multiple times throughout this game. Radio, TV, wherever I was listening, I was flipping between everything, just trying to bring some good luck. I'm that kind of fan. My grandma, she used to have 2 TVs in the house. She has one out in the kitchen, one in the living room. Well, we're watching the Badgers, Brewers, whatever, and I need to get that good mojo, right? I'll pace. I'll go TV to TV. I'll go to the kitchen. Grandpa's sitting out there. I'm watching with him. Something bad happens. I go back in the living room. I'm like, I'm going to fix the mojo here at some point. If they're doing good on this TV, I stay by this TV. I don't move. So I'm cycling throughout this game because I'm like, I can't watch. I got to listen on the radio. So, I mean, this game, I was scared. Badgers went down late in this one, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. 14-13. All the momentum is heading towards Western Michigan right now. Badgers go 3-out. The Badger faithful, they're the most noise they made in a while. They're booing the Badgers off the field. Like, it's bad. It's bad news. They punt the ball away, goes off the Western Michigan returner's leg. Badgers recover, score a touchdown. It's all good in the hood. They get a 2-point conversion. It's 21-14 now. They go on to score another touchdown late, make it 28-14. A little more respectable, I guess you could say. But this game was a lot closer than 28-14. This was a dogfight. This was a Western Michigan is eating us alive on the defensive front. We don't know what to do right now. We can't slow them. We can't slow down this defensive front from Western Michigan. They look faster. They look meaner. The offensive line looked out of sorts at times. It was rough. Tyler Van Dyke, I'm going to be honest with you. I was super optimistic about Tyler Van Dyke coming into Madison. I was like, he's coming from Miami. He was already in an air raid offense. Phil Longo, he's an air raid guy. He's already going to be, in tune with this. He's going to be a gunslinger. That's what we need. We have the weapons. We just needed the quarterback. Was not impressed. Was not impressed week one. Now, could have been the week one jitters. Could have been that. It happens. I get that. But when my quarterback has 8 carries for 21 yards and he is not a running quarterback, this is not like we're talking about Lamar Jackson right now. This is not a running quarterback. When he has 8 carries in a game, I don't think my offensive line did good enough in that game. He's running too much. Yes, there were some read options put into there. That's fine and dandy. Also, Tyler Van Dyke, run with 2 hands on the ball. You're not a runner to begin with, and then you're hanging with the ball down in one arm. Don't do that crap. You're not a runner. Tuck it in, run a couple yards, slide, be like Tom Brady, be smart about it. That did not impress me, that fumble that he had. Wisconsin, all in all, I thought the defense wasn't bad. I thought the defense played well. Lowry did some good. Jaheim Thomas is a dog. They got him from Arkansas in the transfer portal. He actually started with Luke Fickell in Cincinnati, ended up going to Arkansas. Now he's back in Madison. So that was an impressive little tree that he just went through to get back with Luke Fickell and also Tressel, because Tressel was his defensive coordinator at Cincinnati. Now he comes back to Madison. Tressel is once again his defensive coordinator, and Luke Fickell is his head coach. So quite the turn of events there for Jaheim Thomas, but he has a fantastic game. I thought Thomas was great for the Badgers in this one. Ches Malusi and Tyree Walker, those two are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the backfield. The Badgers always seem to find good backs. These two are going to be great. Both of them, 19 carries for Malusi, 74 yards. Tyree Walker had 15 carries for 66 yards. You put 2 and 2 together, that's a solid game out of both of them. I mean, you're splitting the carries between the two guys. They had a great day at the office there. Receiving-wise, it took a while for Tyler Van Dyke to get on the same page as any one of these wide receivers. Will Pauling had 6 catches for 60 yards. They could not get on the same page in this game. Looking at Bryson Green, 4 catches for 39, same with him. Nowakowski was fantastic in that tight end room. He looked good. Ashcraft looked good. I mean, they had good moments in this game, but there is a lot to improve. I mean, I got to see some improvement from now to South Dakota, because I watched Alabama play this last week, and yes, they were playing a garbage team, but Alabama looks good. Like, Alabama looks like they're not led by Nick Saban anymore. But this is a good Alabama team. Like, this is a watch out, the train is on the tracks and you might get hit kind of Alabama team. Georgia is going to have a run for their money. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I'm looking at Alabama. They will have a run for their money again. Georgia's good. Alabama's good too. Like, that is going to be I don't know. Does Alabama and Georgia play each other this season? Do they square off in the regular season? They have to. They have to almost.
Pull that up.
I'm intrigued now. That's something I need to know. But all in all, to wrap it up, a win's a win. You win the games, you got to win. The Badgers took care of that. They got the win against Western Michigan. Now it's about the improvements. They saw week 1. What the heck happened? I mean, it was a rough one, but now you move past it. You get to week 2. You have South Dakota. Now you get yourself ready because you have Alabama coming to Camp Randall week 3. You have a lot to get ready for in that game. South Dakota is it's not a huge game, but it's a game where you got to get right. You definitely got to get right, because otherwise, if you play like you did against Western Michigan, against Alabama, that game might be over in the first half. Like, that is just going to be a rough game to watch. So this South Dakota game is a game where everything has to start looking right for the Badgers, and everything needs to start flowing to get ready for that Alabama game. So big game coming against South Dakota this week, because, man, oh, man, that Alabama game is daunting on the backside of that there. Did you find out? Does Georgia and Alabama play each other?
Yeah, I didn't want to cut you off there. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Now I got Wisconsin up here. There we go. Georgia, Alabama, September 28th. So, I mean, end of this month already. Yeah. And the interesting thing is it is in Alabama. I'm drawing a blank.
Tuscaloosa.
There it is. Tuscaloosa. Because it seems like they always play in Georgia lately. So that'll be a massive test for the Bulldogs. I mean, everybody's picking the Bulldogs to just kind of run away with this thing. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, Alabama is kind of due. I mean, shoot, Penn State and Wisconsin are due, right? Like, man, we're
Yeah.
waiting. But Alabama hasn't won one in 4 or 5 years or whatever, like 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. So it seems like they're due because just they were ripping off chips every other year there for a while or every year. So yeah, I mean that'll be interesting. I mean it's hard not. I'm not going to say it's easy to coach Alabama right now, but you got to think most of all these guys are Nick Saban guys, right? Like they're coming in. So for the head coach of Bama now, there could be worse situations. I'll put it that way. The thing I was kept thinking about in my head or kept popping up in my thought process is I wouldn't really want to be the guy that replaces Nick Saban. Like that is because if you even if you lose like 2-3 games, like people are gonna be like, we want Saban back. Like Saban was even at this game, and I'm not faulting him for that. Like he's probably a mega super fan of Alabama for life now, but it's like he's literally in your shot. Like he's right behind you. You know what I mean? And to think, oh, he'll never coach football again. Like, I think a lot of the reason he stepped away was this NIL stuff. And, things are just getting like weird in college football right now. And I still don't think they have quite the solution for that. But I mean, to say he would never coach, like, let's say Alabama lost 4 games this year. I mean, that fan base would probably be irate. Like you're literally expected to not skip a beat. Like the expectation has not changed. Might be a new year, new coach, but it's now they're kind of the golden standard for a football program in college football. I mean, you can make the case Georgia's been that the last couple of years, but Bama has been that longer, more consistently. So it's I don't envy that. Like as cool as I'm sure being Alabama's head coach would be, like that's one of the best jobs in college, football in general. But it's win or else. Like literally, you have to win. You have to win.
Yep. No, and I think DeBoer's got Nick Saban in his ear too. I think Nick Saban's still in that program a little bit. He calls him. He's like, "Hey, what would you do? What would you do in this situation?" Definitely one of those kind of deals there. But I mean, great. It was kind of great opening weekend of college football. It was great. College football was back. Fantastic. College football was back. There just wasn't a lot of good games to watch. I mean, there wasn't like these great matchups. There were supposed to be great matchups that turned into, I mean, what the heck am I watching right now? I mean, we're watching Boston College and Florida State right now, and Florida State's down 21-6 to Boston College. Like that is, I can't even remember the last time Boston College was winning a football game against supposed to be a good team, and Florida State's on their track to 0-2 to start the season. So some storylines to start the college football season there, but let's get to some real storylines. We got to get to baseball. We haven't talked baseball in a hot minute. Let's get to there before we got to wrap up here for the day. So, grand scheme of things, Brewers over this last weekend here, I mean, it was the Brewers. All I can say is they're at 81 wins right now, and they're predicted to have 80 wins on the season. So let's just put that into perspective for a second. Like the Brewers are just balling out when they shouldn't be balling out. That's what's going on. And Jackson Chourio has been unreal. I saw a quote. He had a grand slam yesterday there against the Cardinals, put him up 9-3 in that game, and that was it. And apparently, Frankie Montas said that Jackson Chourio went up to him and said, I'm going to get an at-bat with the bases loaded, and I'm going to hit a grand slam. That's what he told him in that 6th inning before he walked up and hit a grand slam for the Brewers. Like, just one of those things right now. He is on one of those burners for the Brewers right now where it's like he can't do it wrong at the moment. He walked 3 times to start that game and then hits the grand slam. Just unreal moment for him. Willy Adames, he's got more. I mean, we were laughing about this before we started the show here. He has more 3-run home runs this season than the Rockies, the Giants, the Mariners, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Pirates, the White Sox, and the Cardinals do as a team. Willy Adames has 13 3-run home runs. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I mean, I think his batting average with 2 guys on is like 338. So if you want Willy Adames to get you a hit, just put 2 guys on base because he is going to get you a hit. And odds are it's going to be a 3-run home run. Like that's just how it goes with Willy Adames. This Brewers team is hitting their stride right now. It is, I mean, awesome to watch. I gotta say, I've had feelings about the Brewers in the past. I've had, 2018, I had that feeling. And, 2019 even, I had that feeling. 2021, I had that feeling about that team. This Brewers team is different. When I watch them, and I'm just, the atmosphere, everything around this team, it just seems like they're built different. This team is, not supposed to be doing what they're doing, and they're doing it. They don't know they're supposed to suck. That's the only thing that I can say. The Brewers don't know they're supposed to suck. Like, I don't know if anybody's walked in that clubhouse and said, hey, guys, you're supposed to only win 80 games this season. Like, has anybody told them that? Because it doesn't seem like they were told that. Like, they're out there, and they're playing like the Phillies. They're playing like the Dodgers. Like, they're that big team. They aren't that big team. Like, there's no household names on this team. Not yet. I think there are some guys, some young guys on this team who could become household names, but there's no household names. Christian Yelich is on the IL. The season was supposed to fall apart. Devin Williams was out for the first half of the season. They had Corbin Burns got traded. Brandon Woodruff was on the shelf for the year. This was not supposed to be what happened. And this Brewers team just finds a way every day to win ball games. They have the best run differential in the National League. They have the best run differential. You're talking about powerhouse lineups like the Dodgers and the Phillies and the Braves before they were injury prone. But my mistake. They have the best run differential in baseball. In all of baseball. The Orioles, the Yankees, the Brewers have a better run. They're at plus 139 right now. Plus 139 in run differential. Second place team right now, the Yankees, 121. That tells you, how well this Brewers team is playing. The offense wasn't supposed to be good. The pitching staff, it's just unreal to see what this Brewers team is doing right now. So that's enough about the Brewers. Let's look grand scheme of things right now. Your Phillies right now, they got hot again. Right? They were falling off a cliff. I actually thought for a second there, I was like, this is great. The Brewers can catch up. They had a demanding lead in the National League. Like, there was nobody within sight. Everybody was in the rearview mirror about 5 miles back. And then all of a sudden, the Phillies just went on this little decline. The Dodgers caught back up. The Brewers caught back up. Actually, the Dodgers are ahead of them now by a game and a half. The Brewers are 2 games back, so they're a half game behind them Phillies right now for that 2 spot right now. How worried are you you gotta, if you're a baseball fan, you want to see, if you're not on the outside looking into the playoffs, just wanting to get into the playoffs, if you're at the top half, you want to see your team get that first round bye. You don't want to mess around with the wild card round. I know that as a Brewer fan, I don't want to mess around with the wild card round. I want to get automatic into that divisional round. So how worried are you right now as a Phillies fan? You're looking at the Dodgers ahead of you now, but you're also looking in that rear view mirror and you're saying, look at Milwaukee. They're 2 games back. They're half game back of us right now. We have a series with them pretty soon, but this team is hot. Like, how worried are you as a Phillies fan right now with that little bit of a lead over the Brewers and now trailing the Dodgers?
Yeah, it's concerning. It's not ideal. I'll put it that way. Like, if you're the number one, it's ideal, right? Everybody else, it's good to be in the lead of your individual division, yes, but ideally you want to be the number one. Like, that's the best position to be in, hands down. So, the fact that the Dodgers have kind of not gotten that much. It's weird this year. It looks, there's a chance there's no 100 game winner of any team in the league. Like, it's a bizarre. Like, there's there's good teams. Obviously, Brewers are good. Yankees are good record wise. Phillies are good record. Like, there's good records, but there's no like, oh my God, this team is 115 and whatever, right? Like, it's a lot of everybody's packed around. I'm looking at the Brewers 81-57, Phillies 81-56. You flip to I forgot the Dodgers there at 83, and then and 55. Then you go Yankees 79-58, Orioles 80-59, and then the Guardians at 79. And then it's crazy. I kind of called that the Mariners were going to collapse. They always I can bet on that, and I would be a millionaire just because I have no faith in the Mariners ever. But very quietly, the Astros have marched up to the number one spot. Like, it's after the start and the injuries they've had. Like, yes, I get the Braves have had injuries, but I think the Astros were in a worse position than the Braves were. And granted, the Astros don't have to worry about like the Phillies to compete with in that division. But I mean, the Mariners were playing well, and the fact that they've snuck into that top spot at it's 75 wins. We're talking, they're only 6 wins off of what the Brewers are. They're 6 wins off of the Phillies. Like, this team was hot garbage for 3 months. It felt like. So that team is on the AL side. That team is like, I would not be shocked if they went to the World Series. I really wouldn't be. Just the way they've reinvented their season there, I should say. But I mean, yeah, the Dodgers are the class of the NL right now. The Phillies have owned the Dodgers this season for whatever reason that is. I can't point to it so far. Could mean nothing come postseason time. I mean, really, the regular season is just get yourself in a good position for the postseason. If you're one of these Phillies, Brewers, Dodgers, Yankees, or like those caliber of teams, right? But I mean, the Phillies playing the Brewers, like that'll be I hope everything's just as tight then, just because it would make that series even more. There's just more on the line. That's September 16, 17, 18. They're in the great state of Wisconsin there for you. So it's that'll be fun. I'm kind of getting to the point where I shouldn't say I want to get the regular season over with, but we're so close that it's like, okay, let's wrap up September and see what happens, right? And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I just keep thinking about the Astros for some reason, but I hate to be that guy, that pessimistic glass half empty guy, but I could see the Phillies like it's all who's hot. Like, if the Phillies play the Brewers in the postseason, they could. There's no saying that they couldn't lose that series. You know what I mean? Like, we saw the Diamondbacks last year, and they weren't even a division leading team come in and go all the way to the World Series. And the Rangers, yes, they were good, but like they just totally knocked everybody out of the way in the AL. So, and then went on to win the whole thing. So it's you never quite know. And this year feels especially kind of weird because, like I said, there's no we've seen years the Yankees win 110 games or Baltimore won 100 games last year. There's no oh my God, that team is Goliath out here. There's no. It's a lot of line these guys up against these guys and see what happens. Because yes, the Dodgers are stacked, but the Dodgers have faltered in the postseason so many times. They have a great chance of going the whole way, but they're a prove it team to me. They're a prove it franchise to me. They're it's like Kirk Cousins. His numbers are good. Who cares though? He doesn't win anything. Where the Dodgers have the COVID World Series. That was a stupid season, if you ask me, and then they haven't done anything since or before that in recent time.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is crazy, looking at the records right now, how close everything really is, how close these teams really are at the end of the day. But, I mean, okay, so we talked about how nervous we are, race-wise, everything like that. I want to look, okay, let's just say hypothetical world. We'll do the Brewers are the 3, the Phillies are the 3. The other one gets the 2. We're just going to go that hypothetical world right there. You end up in a wild card game. Which wild card team right now? So the wild card teams at the moment would be the Padres, the Diamondbacks, and I believe the Braves would be the last wild card spot. They're right ahead of the New York Mets right now. So that'd be your last wild card spot. Who would you least like to face? Who scares you the most? The Padres, the Diamondbacks, or the Braves? Who scares you the most as a Philly fan where you're sitting there like, I don't want to see them in the playoffs? Like, that is the one team in the wild card round where I'm like, I don't know if this is a for sure we're going to the divisional round right now.
It's kind of a tough one. I think if they played the Diamondbacks, that can go either way because the Diamondbacks knocked them out, in the NLCS. And I don't have that hatred for the Diamondbacks only because they came out of nowhere and it really was on Craig Kimbrell that killed the Phillies last year. So I can't sit there and say, oh man, I forever hate the Diamondbacks after that moment. They got the better of you. They were like I said, they were the under. No one expected them to do anything they just capitalized. So I think that could either be like, we're going to be so juiced up to beat this team because of what happened last. Like players don't forget about that type of. They might come to the media and say, "Oh, it's just another series." No, it's in my opinion, you don't think like that because it's like that is literally the team that took your chance away from going to the World Series. So I kind of like that for the simple fact it's like, okay, if we get through them, like nothing's stopping us. But in recent times, it's almost been more intense, like Phillies Braves than Phillies Mets. Like usually, it's Phillies Mets that are just chaos and people getting hit. But Arcia talking trash on Harper, and like it's just gotten crazy there with the Braves and Phillies. I have no fear of the Braves, absolutely none. I just don't. I think the Phillies have shown that they can just handle them lately, and it's not a concern. Now, could the Braves win? Obviously, yes. But and the Padres, that may be the number one pick though for me is because the Padres are literally, who are they? Who's in the NFL? Like the Bills, right? But how many times have the Bills gone to the playoffs in the last 6-7 years with Josh Allen? They haven't even sniffed the Super Bowl, right? And now the Padres are the same way. They go to the postseason. They, oh my God, look at their lineup, look at their roster. They never do anything. Like they don't. They literally are one and done or wild carding out. Like they're until they're another team. Until they show me they can do it. But in Philly fashion, that would be the type of team they would lose to, though. That would be something stupid like that. But give me the Padres just based on the fact that I mean, they just don't win in the post. They're not a winning pedigree team. The Braves, at least, usually can win, not win World Series. Rip off World Series like that. But and then Diamondbacks are they're like a sneak. They're like a team that's like you don't ever expect them to be that great, but they can put it together. So I give me the Padres though. Long story short.
I agree. Yeah, the Padres, the Braves, the only thing that would make me nervous is the pitching staff. The pitching staff for the Braves, Chris Sale, Morton figures it out. I don't know. He's a playoff performer. He might be able to throw 9 in a playoff game with his walker, getting him back to the dugout. I don't know. He's that kind of guy. That would be the thing that makes me nervous of the Braves. The Diamondbacks last season were the Brewers of this season. Like, they didn't know they weren't supposed to go to the World Series. They just did it. It's just one of those things where it was youth, it was speed, it was everything. They're starting to figure it out. I think any team from the NL West right now with the Padres, Diamondbacks, either one of those teams, they're dangerous. Those are some dangerous ball clubs. They're right on the Dodgers' tail right now. So, you look at either one of them. But, yeah, I agree. I would say that Padres team, just because, that was perfect, the Bills. Like, the Bills could beat you. They could. If Josh Allen ever figured it out, they could beat you. So it's the same thing. Looking at that Padres team, if Manny Machado figures out in a playoff game, if Xander Bogaerts shows up, if they stay healthy, if they, it's all these ifs with the Padres. If it all comes together, that's a dangerous team. So, yeah, I would agree there with the Padres on that one. So, anything else we got? We got anything else here for the day? I think that's it. We talked about a lot. We got a lot in today.
It's a good time, and I love college. Don't get me wrong. I will, the NFL being back, great. But hey, the energy around college football is just it's unmatched to me. Like it is literally. You could probably I don't watch as much college basketball, so maybe I should. Maybe I should just like really try to invest some time in it this year. This season I should say, but like with Mac, and I don't know about you, but I'm like a 50-50 on McAfee. Like sometimes I really can't stand him. Sometimes I'm like, man, this guy is just like it's hard to hate him. Like, but just he is literally like a shot glass to college football or college game day, I should say. And it's like, and then you bring Nick Saban, like it's just bonkers. Like it is absolute like craziness, and I can appreciate it because like college football is just wild. Like it's the NFL is a lot more like buttoned up but college football is just like whatever. Like it literally will throw anything at the wall and see what sticks. Like and I love it for that. Some people think it's corny or stupid for that, but I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it.
No, I agree. Right now, Florida State is not a fan of their receivers or DJ Uyunglele. I mean, I'm watching this. This is a disaster. Wide open, drops a pass. It's just mass chaos out there right now. You're talking about chaos on College Game Day. This is chaos. But I agree. It's a great time of year. I mean, like you mentioned early in the show, there's only one time of year that rivals this time of year, and that's March, just because of March Madness. And baseball's right around the corner there, too. Now you got baseball wrapping up. You got NFL starting. You got college football starting. Pretty soon here, you got college basketball starting. You got the NBA starting. It is just that time of year where everything is slowly starting to heat up. But that's about all we got. Aaron, you let them know. Let them know where they can find you out there across social media and everything like that.
Yeah, as always, I appreciate you, Trajan, for letting me come on the Wisconsin Sports on the Go side of things here. But I'm on. I'm trying to be more active on TikTok. Actually, I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on here, but Brutally Honest Sports on TikTok. I can't remember where the underscore is, so just look for the logo. If you ever see the logo on my Spotify or on my Twitter. But yeah, Brutally Honest Sports, Spotify, Twitter, Apple Pods, all that type of stuff. But yeah, just trying to give, quick analysis here and there. I've just been jammed up, but I'm trying to throw out at least little clips here and there. Obviously get on with Trajan as much as I can and just, keep plowing away, especially with the football season coming around. I tried to do the daily coverage of baseball. I give you all the credit in the world. You are a hardworking person in this space, man, because keeping up even on series of baseball sometimes is there's so many, there's 81 series or whatever, or whatever, you know what I mean? Something like that. But it's football is at least there's one a week. Sometimes I wish there was two, but it's easier to cover that way. I'll put it that way.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a tough world. It's a tough world to keep up on. It's a tough world. This guy is one of the busiest dudes out there, though. I mean, he is working nonstop, and he's still giving you great sports stuff. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know is if you need some sports info, that's the guy to go to. Brutally Honest Sports there. All across the platforms, TikTok, everything. You got to get them there. So with that, that's about all we got for today. It was a great day. Thank you to Aaron for coming on today. Hopefully, if his schedule pans out, we can get him on later this week. Maybe we'll do a live on Friday. I don't know. We'll see how the week shakes out. If we can get on live Friday for that game, Packers-Eagles, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, we'll definitely try to get him back on here for a preview show before the game coming up on Friday there. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. But until we talk to you guys again tomorrow, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river, I have held the devil's hand.